Joe Sestak, thanks for calling the show.
Good to be with you again, Steve. Thanks.
Now, Joe, a number of people have asked me to ask you, and when I get the requests, I do my best to honor them. They've talked about listening to the show, and we've talked to John Fetterman, the mayor of Braddock. He is a candidate for the nomination you seek. We've talked to Katie McGinty. She is a candidate for the nomination you seek. Fetterman has publicly endorsed Bernie Sanders as the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. Katie McGinty has endorsed Hillary Clinton to be the nominee. Have you endorsed either of those two candidates?
I have not, nor have I asked a single person or a single organization for an endorsement. What I found out when I ran against Senator Specter is it was unfair for me to put someone between me and the establishment. President Obama and Dan was supporting Senator Specter, so I didn't do it then. And then I said, these endorsements really don't matter. When people are hurting around Pennsylvania, they could care less about some politician endorsing another one. Now, I can say I think Ms. Secretary Clinton has the character and temperament to be an excellent commander-in-chief, and that Bernie Sanders has raised the scourge of our generation, income inequality. But endorsements don't matter, nor do I ask for them.
And we understand why you don't ask for them, but why, if your opponents are up front with their endorsement, why will you not endorse?
Why should I do what someone else does? If I believe that I shouldn't bother with an endorsement, why do I have to do it just because somebody else does? Look, I'm an independent who happens to be a Democrat. I happen to believe in the military that, that's what you are. You are an independent who take care of your people. You focus on the mission. Take care of the sailors. They'll take care of the ship. I didn't ask for some admiral's endorsement or give an endorsement to some admiral. That's how I'm running my campaign. Look, it may be different. I get it. But that's what I believe.
Have you ever endorsed a presidential candidate publicly?
Yes, I did. After it came down to Mrs. Clinton and Secretary Obama, I did do Secretary Clinton when they were both running. I knew her. I'd been there with her, and I supported her. But then, as I said, I learned. Remember what I said? I learned when I was running against the establishment and in the following year how little the endorsements meant. Look, I had every politician, just like now, down in D.C., who was opposing me, giving their endorsements. And all of a sudden I looked around and said, who's even listening? I won. And then all of a sudden I said, who's listening to my endorsement about another politician? What they probably care about is what position do I endorse on an issue? That's why I do it this way. Look, maybe different, I get it, but that's what I think. I think so many people just run around trying to grab its endorsements. I just care about grabbing people. I want to be a warrior for people.
If you win, if you're successful in your bid for the Democratic nomination, will you endorse then?
Well, I guess if I do, it's a good question. Because I think by about that time, we should have one single Democrat who's running for president. But I don't expect to. I mean, yes, I think if that single Democrat is running for president, of course I am, because I think both of them have characteristics that I respect, which I brought up here. And so absolutely, I think I would.
I can hear the wheels turning in your head, Joe Sestak.
Yeah, because you brought up another. That's why I like coming on your show. Another is put tough questions. All I'm thinking about is right now. It doesn't matter. Hill beans a difference, and I don't think it does.
The only reason I brought it up is people ask me to, and it is interesting that those two other candidates have endorsed, and people are interested in how you think, and people are interested in how quickly you think on your feet as well. The plan for securing America in the 21st century, that's a mouthful, and that contains quite a bit of information. Break it down for us.
I will. Look, 31 years in the United States military. I actually worked for President Clinton's Director of Defense Policy for General Powell on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I came to understand that securing our freedom overseas, it means not just winning a war, but securing the peace. And often diplomacy is even stronger in doing that at times than our military machine. Be cautious in using it, or you will get into a tragic misadventure like Iraq. So 4 points. 1, diplomacy does matter. Look at how we brought about Iran. Second, in a global world, no nation stands alone. Even General Washington chopped operational command of our forces in the Battle of Yorktown to win our independence to a French general. That's why the sculpture closest to the Oval Office, to the commander-in-chief, is of a French general who won our war. We're not out there alone. And third, economic security undergirds our nation's security. That's why they sent me off for a doctorate, the military did, in political economy as well as national security. Understand the ebb and flow of the economies of the world, and that undergirds our strength. And finally, it is not about force structure. Don't measure our fleet today and how many ships. Measured in capability. Can we actually use cyberspace to take down through the network missiles rather than just having to have a missile against a missile? Those are the changes in our national security approach that I want to push, and I actually did this in the Navy.
You've raised issues with regard to, obviously, the economy, banking. For people like me who are not as astute when it comes to those kinds of high-level matters of economic banking transactions, how does the average voter see the importance of what you're addressing with regard to banks, with regard to the economy as well? You've made reference to the Exim Bank. I'm probably not even saying it right. Tell the average voter what that's all about.
Absolutely, and don't tell me you're not astute. Look, number two here, let's just take two examples. The Export-Import Bank, which gives loans and actually backs up with insurance small businesses as they sell their products overseas. 62 nations have a export-import bank where their government helps subsidize, in a way, their exports to help them in the economic playing field of the world. Now, we could have unilateral disarmament and say we're not going to do it and let our small businesses out there all by themselves, or we get out there and give them an equal opportunity. The reason I bring this up is the Export-Import Bank that provides insurance for someone to go overseas where it's pretty hard for a small business to know who's who there, and we can give them insurance in case something untoward happens, is they have to pay a small fee. And the last decade, it hasn't cost the taxpayer a cent. So in a way, we've put, for exports, every $1 billion in exports we have through the Export-Import Bank and other means is 5,000 jobs here at home. Let me give you another example. China. China has control of 97% of rare earth minerals. Boy, the cell phone I'm talking on right now has a rare earth mineral in it. Every guided munition our military uses has a rare earth mineral in it. Every military and civilian aircraft has one, every hybrid car. So China has a monopoly on 97%. It cut it off on Japan because it got upset at Japan because it had a dispute with it over who owned which island out there. Tell me that isn't economic security. Why aren't we here at home mining, as we used to, rare earth minerals and becoming the manufacturer of rare earth mineral products and not letting China have a monopoly on it that they can use to close us down, even some of our own products today? That's what I mean by economic security undergirds our nation's security.
How has U.S. Senator Pat Toomey responded to these very same issues?
He has said the Export-Import Bank must die. Get rid of it, because he thinks anything government might assist in by facilitating that a businessman can be successful overseas is bad, because government, a government of the people, by the way, that's for the people, should not do that. So he has proposed ending it right away. And as far as rare earth minerals, hasn't done a darn thing on it. Look, when I was down there in Congress, I submitted 2 bills to get 2 studies done of getting rare earth minerals extraction again in America because they're co-located with something called thorium. And it's kind of got some alpha radiation in it. My gosh, flying in an aircraft one day gives you more radiation of alpha than that thorium. We got to get it reclassified so we can get the rare earth minerals out. I've made speeches on this, etc. And although it isn't the, wow, everybody pays attention to thorium issue or rare earth, it's one of those issues where practical people would actually say down in Congress, hey, let's do something that helps America be the rare earth mineral producer, not just China. Because as I said, every cell phone, every hybrid car, every munition, every aircraft uses rare earth minerals. Why aren't we the producer of it?
And last but not least, among your many stops in very few hours, you addressed your supporters and interested parties at the University of Pittsburgh Law School, where you made it very clear. You said this: as a former U.S. Navy admiral who spent over 3 decades defending our interests abroad, I am convinced that climate change must absolutely and unequivocally be seen as not just an economic issue, but a national security issue as well. Expand on that.
Absolutely. I stand right behind those words, as our Pentagon did a year ago, and even again this year, that said one of the greatest sources of conflict, of crises that we, the military, will have to respond to in the decades to come will be because of climate change. In fact, 2 weeks ago, the United States Navy requested permission in its budget to have money to replace a P-8 squadron. It used to be P-3, but the new version of these anti-submarine squadrons that also do other types of spying up in northern Iceland, where we used to be when we had to track the submarines of the Soviet fleet. This time they want to be able to fly over the Arctic that's melting, because there's going to be a resource fight up there. Because nobody owns the Arctic means nobody owns the resources of whatever great minerals are down there, natural gas, etc. And we've got to prepare for that type of crisis. And that's why diplomacy from the United States needs to help resolve it before it becomes a conflict. In fact, climate change has forced the U.S. Navy to raise its carrier piers down in Norfolk, Virginia, at a cost of a couple hundreds of millions of dollars, because within about a decade and a half plus, the carriers will no longer be able to line up and tie up to let the sailors get off the ship, because the seas have risen because of climate change. That's why the U.S. military says, we believe the scientists, we've got to take action now, because we're the ones who are going to have to respond to the droughts overseas that cause crises and famine, disaster relief, and conflict.
Does Senator Toomey have any, has he shown any evidence or any interest in the fact that the Arctic is melting and the seas are rising?
Not a word. In fact, he says that the science is doubtful whether we have climate change.
Well,
the United States military has its own scientists and says, it's already happening, we got to get going and prepared for it. That's what real leadership is. You don't wait till a crisis happens and then respond to it. You see a crisis might happen, and you prepare for it. It's why we say in the military, if you excuse the vernacular of a sailor, piss poor planning gives piss poor results.
I think that's in the Constitution, Joe Sestak. I will say this in the spirit of accuracy and fairness. I have invited Pat Toomey to talk with us on my show regularly over the past few weeks. I said any time is available, is okay with me. Today, tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, any day. And I have yet to confirm an appointment with Senator Toomey to talk with us about these life and death issues. Joe Sestak, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Steve. And one day we're going to get Pat Toomey to endorse your show.
Good luck with that. See you later.